Welcome to I'm the Tigers News. I'm Alexis Richer.
And I'm Justice Dan. Thank you for joining us for the news we've been following for you.
The Obama administration stepped up security at major transit hubs across the country after Tuesday's airport and subway bombings in Brussels, as top U.S. intelligence officials warned off the risk for copycat attacks at home. President Barack Obama vowed to help Belgium track down those responsible for the deadly explosions. 34 people have been confirmed dead and more than 200 injured, many seriously. Belgian officials said Wednesday there are several people linked to the attack who are still at large. Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson stressed there is no specific credible intelligence pointing to a similar plot in America, but he said the Transportation Security Administration would deploy additional security at major airports and rail stations in different cities. Officials also reviewed additional security measures for travelers from Belgium among more than 36 countries whose citizens generally don't need a visa to enter the U.S. The attacks in the Belgian capital underscored the growing threat posed by the Islamic State group on both sides of the Atlantic. The bombs in Brussels airport and subway locked down the European Union's capital just a few months after attacks shocked Paris and San Bernardino, California.
Under a fresh cloud of overseas violence, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton traded wins with their chief rivals on Tuesday and attacked each other's world views as the 2016 presidential contest turned into a clash of would-be commanders-in-chief. While both frontrunners scored victories in the night's biggest prize of Arizona, Democratic challenger Bernie Sanders won caucuses in Utah and Idaho, and Republican Ted Cruz claimed his party caucuses in Utah. The victories kept Clinton and Trump from dominating another election night, but they both maintained a comfortable lead in the race of delegates that decide for the presidential nominations.
The Supreme Court is taking up a challenge from faith-based groups that object to an Obama administration effort to ensure their employees and students can get cost-free birth control. The justices are hearing arguments Wednesday on the 6th anniversary of President Barack Obama's health care overhaul in a case at the intersection of the law, religion, and birth control. The 2010 law is making its fourth Supreme Court appearance in 5 years. This issue is the arrangement the administration devised to make sure that religiously oriented colleges, charities, and advocacy groups do not have to pay for or arrange the provision of contraceptives to which they object, while ensuring that women covered under their health plans can still obtain birth control.
The Supreme Court issued a deadlock ruling Tuesday, its first since the death of Justice Antonin Scalia. The court tied 4-4 in a case involving whether a pair of wives should be held responsibly for failure of their husband's real estate endeavor. Tuesday's tie was the first since Scalia's sudden death in February left the High Court with just 8 justices. Democrats have been warning of such a scenario as they argue that the Senate needs to act quickly on Scalia's replacement to avoid a string of ties. The outcome of Hawkins v. Community Bank of Raymore leaves in place a lower court ruling that affirmed that the bank did not discriminate against the women. But it also means the Supreme Court did not resolve a pair of conflicting lower court rulings on the matter.
The Supreme Court is taking up a challenge from faith-based groups that object to an Obama administration effort to ensure their employees and students can get cost-free birth control. The justices are hearing arguments Wednesday on the 6th anniversary of President Barack Obama's health care overhaul in a case at the intersection of the law, religion, and birth control. The 2010 law is making its fourth Supreme Court appearance in 5 years. This issue is the arrangement the administration devised to make sure that religiously oriented colleges, charities, and advocacy groups do not have to pay for or arrange the provision of contraceptives to which they object, while ensuring that women covered under their health plans can still obtain birth control.
For more than a month, federal investigators have insisted that they have no alternative to force Apple to help them open up a phone used by one of the San Bernardino shooters. That changed Monday when the Justice Department said the outsider party recently showed the FBI a different way to access the data on the phone used by Saeed Farook, who with his wife killed 14 people in the December 2nd attack. The magistrate judge in the case proposed a hearing scheduled for Tuesday and gave the government 2 weeks to test this method. But federal officials have been mum about who came forward and what method they've proposed.
Kansas's conservative Republican governor signed legislation Tuesday allowing faith-based groups at college campuses to restrict membership to like-minded people, likely putting the state on a collision course with civil liberties groups. The GOP-dominated legislature approved the legislation earlier this month, even though the U.S. Supreme Court ruled nearly 6 years ago that universities can require membership in such groups to be open to all. Supporters have said the bill was a victory for the freedom to exercise religious beliefs, but opponents called it a veiled attempt to legalize discrimination. Kansas already has a religious objections law that prevents state or local governments from limiting people's freedom to express their religion, though that law doesn't touch on organizations at universities. With Governor Sam Brownback's signature, Kansas becomes the second state after Oklahoma to have a college-specific law.
We're stuck in a pattern of clouds and rain for the next couple of days. Here's Bree with the weather.
You're right, we are stuck with a slow-moving low-pressure system that is bringing in plenty of clouds and rain showers. We're also going to see colder air from the north usher down on us. For our Wednesday night, we'll see periods of rain and even some snow with temperatures right at the freezing mark. Thursday morning, we could see an inch of snow on the ground. Throughout Thursday, more rain as temperatures rise to the mid-50s, and the rain continues into Thursday night. Friday morning, the rain begins to wind down and the wind picks up as the system starts to move out. A longer range looks some sunshine coming in Saturday with temps still in the mid-40s. But some good news as data suggests sunny skies for Easter Sunday and temps for the 60s. That's the forecast at Embry.
The Democratic-led Assembly on Tuesday approved a measure that would legalize mixed martial arts in New York, following a 3-hour debate. The legislation has long been bottled up in the chamber as the Republican-controlled Senate has approved the bill for the last 7 years. The measure was approved 113 to 25. The development is poised to end a ban on the sport in New York, which critics have deemed too violent. Passage of the bill is a victory for Assembly Majority Joe Morrell, a Democrat from the Rochester area, who had carried the legislation in the chamber over the last several years. It's also a victory for Ultimate Fighting Championship, the main promoter of MMA bouts, which had pledged to schedule several events in New York, including upstate cities and at Madison Square Garden. Syracuse, which endured an 0-4 start in the ACC and a 1-5 finish to the season before barely getting into the NCAA tournament, is now headed to the Sweet 16. Syracuse pulled away from a plucky Middle Tennessee for a 75-50 win in the second round of the NCAA tournament here at the Scottrade Center on Sunday. Syracuse will face Gonzaga in the Midwest Region semifinals on Friday in Chicago. It's the 4th trip to the Sweet 16 for Syracuse since the NCAA tournament expanded to 64 teams in 1985. Syracuse women's basketball team also will move on as they outlasted a tough Albany team yesterday for a 76-59 in a second-round NCAA tournament game in the Carrier Dome, a result that advances SU to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, for the program's first-ever Sweet 16. The Orange will take on top-seeded South Carolina on Friday night at either 7 p.m. or 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Congratulations go out to Mexico junior Jack Baldwin, who competed in the New York State Men's Gymnastics Championships at West Point, New York. He placed 2nd on pommel horse, 4th on parallel bars, and 7th in the all-around competition. Jack moves on to the regional competition in 2 weeks, where he will compete against athletes from across 7 states. That's it in sports. I'm Abby Garrett.
A look at the calendar shows that this Thursday, March 24th, Boise City will be closed. Students should plan to pick up a permission slip from the main office to be dismissed during your BOCES class time.
The Spring Blood Drive is Thursday, March 31st in the high school gymnasium. If you would like to donate blood, please sign up during your lunch or see Mr. Deckman in room 103 to reserve a time slot.
In the spirit of the NCAA basketball tournament, the Physical Education Department will be holding a 3-on-3 basketball tournament on March 30th. See Mr. Chamberlain for details.
Students interested in the law should consider being a part of Oswego County Youth Court. Students hear real cases of youthful offenders and decide on real sentences for the offenders. Stop by Student Services to fill out an application.
And finally, sports physicals will be held in May. The physical will provide the student athlete to participate fall, winter, and spring sports for the entire 2016-17 school year. See Mrs. Wallace for more information.
That's all for us today. We'll be back again tomorrow. For the staff of I'm the Tigers, I'm Alexis Pritchard.
And I'm Justice Dan. Have a great day.